Sunday morning, and Chatty herself has arrived in the Mansfield Today studio. Chatty, of course, I'm referring to the one and only Melanie Walker. Hello, Mel.
Hello, my darling. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully. How are you doing?
I'm actually, we're getting there. Slowly but surely. Every single day, that you wake up and you get up and you keep going. Go for a walk and enjoy the light and the sunshine and a bit of cold weather as well. But everybody sits there and goes, oh, you know what? We're through winter, and then all of a sudden winter arrives. The winter solstice is gone. And that's one of the things that I find very amusing with people, that they tend to forget how nature does its own thing.
What are we talking about today in gardening?
Wow. Okay, it's got a lot to do with memory. It's got a lot to do with scent. It's got a lot to do with, especially with so many people being lost at the moment. And I'm not talking about just being lost through COVID, but also lost through things like dementia, Alzheimer's. But before we get onto that, it's an interesting thing that's happened with COVID, of how people have lost their sense of smell, which means that you lose your taste as well. And it's something I've seen coming up on social media quite a lot. How do I get my smell back? And it was something I'm so in tune with what I smell all the time, because I spend a lot of time out in the garden picking flowers and herbs and smelling everything. And all of a sudden you can't smell anything, which means you can't taste anything. So everything tastes awful. Okay, so I was saying to people, just get lemons or oranges and you scratch them. And as you scratch it, even if you can't smell it, if you imagine that you can smell it, it's been helping, and that's what helped me.
Okay.
So that's one thing. Another interesting thing was I listened to some amazing podcasts. I love listening to clever people. And they were talking about being in space, at the space station, and how your sense of smell also goes for a loop when you're on the space station. And they like to have fresh stuff, and it has to be quite tasty, because they taste kind of like dissipate quite a lot.
Yeah.
So cos lettuce or romaine, they've got quite a tense smell and taste to them, except they taste like rocket, which I thought was really funny.
Cos lettuce tasting like rocket. I can't quite wrap my mind around that.
They're on a spaceship, what can we say?
Yeah.
So it's a lot to do with getting a sense of smell back, and smell is the one thing that will kick memories in again. And it was Hampton Court last week. Hampton Court, of course, the second biggest flower show after Chelsea. They didn't have either of the flower shows last year. Chelsea's only going to be happening for the first time ever. It's now happening in September, hopefully. Okay, they are planning on doing it. And I've never been to Hampton Court, but I was looking at the pictures, which is something that we always look forward to. And Chelsea, going to Chelsea is such a thing. And there's a lot of pictures in my book, which I brought for you guys to have a look at, Garden Style.
It came out a few years ago.
It came out a few years ago, yeah. And it's a really beautiful coffee table book, yes. Pictures by Connell Osterbrook, who's just the most phenomenal photographer in the world. And I was looking at those pictures, and I can remember being in those gardens. And that's one of the things, is there's the sense of being in a garden. The pictures are beautiful and you can see them, but standing in a garden and the memories that it evokes, and what you feel and what you smell, that's what a garden for me is all about. And yes, I love looking at pictures of gardens, but to be in a garden is what is important. And I think that's why when it comes to show gardens and the big shows, that a lot of the people are involved with like cancer research, or with Alzheimer's, or with the people who've got dementia, and they set up these amazing gardens to help people find a sense of place, a sense of space, a place to go to help them remember. Because remembrance, rosemary, the smell of rosemary is one of the strong things, that and lavender. If you think about people with Alzheimer's, that they lose their most recent memories, but if you give them lavender, they will suddenly remember Granny.
Yes.
So it's all about that, and setting up a memory garden for somebody, because that it kind of extrapolates from that. Looking at how do you remember people? How do you get people to remember? And I've had a couple of friends who had people that gave them roses over the years, and then those people would shuffle off this mortal coil. And she eventually said, I've got all of these amazing plants, but they're all scattered. So we put it together and we created a memory garden. And that's why when I say to people, whenever anybody says to me, what would you like? It's counterintuitive to say, well, give me a plant, because I get so many plants. I will always say to somebody, buy me a rose. and then you put it into your space. And I only like scented roses, okay? And you have it in that space, and you can take roses that people have given you, and you stand there with them, and you think about those people all the time. So it's very much about, if you've lost somebody, or if you're trying to get somebody to come back, to create a garden for them, either in their memory or to make their memories happen. It's one of those things.
It's a beautiful idea, actually, to create something that is living on behalf of somebody who's passed on, and you know that will continue growing.
Yeah. And I mean, especially, you know, as I said, I'm going to give the people, like, if you like roses, okay, and they always say that men should always have palm trees in their gardens and women should always have roses. I don't know why. I only started enjoying roses a couple of years ago, when I discovered the Just Joey rose, which is just the most beautiful kind of apricot creamy coloured rose with the most incredible scent. Duftwolke, which is this bright cerise pink and the best smell. Ronalaya, which is a pale yellow rose which smells like lemon meringue. Okay, they're double delight. There are so many amazing roses, and for me, Garden Queen, Garden Princess, they're also the bright pink roses. The red ones, you'll get Oklahoma or Satchmo, and you put those in. It depends on the color that you want. And a lot of people, I mean, if you go through to Ludwig's Farms and you look at those rose farms, I mean, goodness, you just want to plant everything.
Yeah.
But for me, putting in something which has that scent and you smell it and immediately you go back to a different place. I'm taken back to, I can't remember the name of the lady who used to live one block away from us. I was 9 or 10, and she taught me how to make rose petal perfume. And I smell that rose and immediately I'm taken back to her house from when I was 9 years old. So it's about that. It's about remembering people. It's about how to get other people to remember them, to take that with your heart in it and create a space for somebody that you have lost or you are missing.
Now, let's wrap this up, and I will tell you my favorite garden ever.
Yes.
Doesn't have one flower in it.
Is it green?
No.
It's not a green. Is it a desert garden?
No, it's down at the Buddhist monastery in Ikopo,
Yes.
and it is the walking trail through stone,
Like a labyrinth.
and it's a labyrinth.
Yeah.
And it's just, to me, it's the most peaceful place on this planet.
Interesting. Labyrinths are fantastic. There's a few of them. There was one that we did in Hogsback, which is amazing. There's one down also in the Midlands, near the ground cover farm. And walking through that, it is one of those things. And also, if you go out to Doonholm Herb Farm, they've got the most beautiful labyrinth where you go in. It starts off with the red. You go past all the colours of the rainbow into the centre where it's this white, just lots of white flowers and the incredible scents as you walk past. And then you come back out again and you get energized and you come back out on the red side again. So you go through all the colours. And that really is the most evocative way of thinking about stuff, of calming yourself down, and at the same time energizing yourself all over again. And labyrinths, absolutely love them. They're fantastic. Go and play in a labyrinth anytime you can.
Well, there we go. Psychologically Speaking with Melanie Walker.
You've got to do something with it.
Lovely to have had you with us, and lovely to have you in the studio.
Thank you. We'll see you again next week.
See you again next week. See you again next week as well. Until then, bye-bye.